Greens, my guzzlers. Well, tonight we're having one of these, a cauliflower. Okay, we're going to make a soup with it, and this is a masala cauliflower soup. So obviously it's got spices in it, but you can also want onion, lentil and baby spinach. But essentially it's a cauliflower one. Okay, so just notice you can't see the white bit when I hold it like that, can you? We'll get rid of all this green, okay, and then we'll get making this soup. So masala or masala cauliflower soup. So I've got 200 grams of diced white or brown onion, depending what you can call it, and that's there ready to go. I've got 2 tablespoons of garam masala spice mix, which we've used before. In fact, I actually had to buy some today because I'd used up all my homemade one. So that's the head of cauliflower, okay, and the florets that are on there, that's the bit we're going to use. We're not going to use all these green bits, okay, and you want 400 grams of that, so we won't want quite all of that. You're going to want about a 2 inch to 2 inch, was it 2 inch? Yeah, inch to 2 inch of freshly grated fresh ginger. You can have an optional teaspoon of chili flakes, but we're putting that in. You're going to a little bit of oil, so fry it in. 200 grams of baby spinach, which I've de-stalked and rinsed. And then a tin, which is about 400 grams, it's 390 I think the tin was, of lentils, green lentils, which are not green in colour, but I think the green refers to the fact that they might be a little bit rawer, if you like, than the other one, but I don't know. I should know because I've done something about lentils before and I've told you all about them. And you're going to need a hand blender, or you can put it in a food processor. It's up to you. We can do it hand blender. So you're going to have a largest teapot, largest saucepan, and 800 mils of quite strong vegetable stock. Right, so I've removed just over 400 grams worth, so just over half of that, I think. Yeah, just over half of that. You can see here your classic cauliflower shape, your florets coming off this main white stem. Okay. I don't think you're now going to get away without a lecture, because I'm going to tell you about cauliflower. Okay. Brassica oleracea, and it originates from northeast Mediterranean, sort of South Asia, but probably more Mediterranean. Okay, now what we want to do is chop these florets up, simply because, actually I'm going to take some of them stalks off the end. We don't really want that, because although it's going to get all blended up, we do obviously want to make sure it's cooked. Okay, so I'm just sort of separating the florets up a bit. I'm getting rid of any of them sort of firmer bits of stalk that's in the middle, because you don't really want that. So I said to you it was just over 400 because I knew I'd be taking a little bit extra off. So there's actually, I mean, this is your classic cauliflower, white. Okay, but you do get different coloured ones. Okay, there's an orange one, an orange cauliflower, and that resulted from a natural mutant found in Canada. Okay, and from that obviously they've then carried on breeding it. The cauliflower is a result of selective breeding. And before anybody gets all uptight about it, we're talking about the kind of selective breeding and the genetic engineering that's been going on for thousands of years, where people just bred things together and mix the genes that way. We're not talking about things that have been created in a lab, if you like. So, oops, a bit of stalk there, try not to get that in there. Well, actually, I've almost chopped that, so what we might do is start on the cooking the onions, because they want about 8 minutes or so to cook. And we're using 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, I don't normally measure this, okay? I'd normally estimate that. However, part of my healthy eating kick, if you're interested, this is one, oh, I thought I'd say the same thing then. Oh, I did. 1 Weight Watcher point, and that's because of that. All the other things go in it, 0 point. So if you're making this, and actually this is for 4 people, although I think the portion might be small, you're almost talking 0 points. But anyway, oh, and not only is it low fat, low calorie, but it's dairy free, egg free, nut free, pregnancy friendly, apparently. It's essentially well, it's definitely vegetarian, and it's probably vegan. I don't know if there's any ingredient there. Some vegans might argue, oh, that's not vegan, you can't have that. But anyway, so I'm just going to put this on to about a medium heat. Okay. And what we're going to then do is we're going to then just fry our onion up. Rather filled this. Let's put that onion in there, and then bits that I've knocked out. Okay, and then we just want to season this with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'll turn that down a fraction. Let's give it some salt. And now we're essentially just going to cook this through for about 6 to 8 minutes. Essentially, we want to soften it up. Now, I was telling you about the colour of cauliflower. This is the classic white. I said there was an orange. There's also a purple cauliflower and a green one. And because the cauliflower, the green one, resembles broccoli, the green one is sometimes referred to as broccaflower. Now, everything else is prepped. Oh, and I didn't tell you, another thing you're going to need near the end is juice of 1 lemon. We're just putting the juice in, no zest or anything like that in there this time. Yeah, I think I've told you everything else. So, the name cauliflower derived from the Italian cavolfiore, which in turn, that means cabbage flower, but in turn that derives from the Latin 2 words, coaurus, cabbage, and floss, flower. So, and it gets its name obviously because it does look a little bit like a flower. Okay. And going back to what I said about green ones being called broccaflower, it's quite possible that this is derived from broccoli, and obviously mutations led, and then from there the selective breeding of those varieties led to our common now cauliflower. Okay, I'm keeping that there for a reason, to carry on lecturing you. So, like I say, we just want to cook this for about 6 to 8 minutes until it's softened. So that's starting to soften up. Okay, so this is where you're going to want your garam masala, your ginger, and the optional chili flakes. Cauliflowers, as such, have been mentioned back in Roman times. Pliny the Elder, in his book on a natural history, he included it in a list of plants, although they didn't call it cauliflower. So he basically said, of all the varieties of cabbage, the most pleasant tasting is Kyma. And what he's actually referring to, it's believed, are these florets, these heads of an early form of this brassica. So it's been around a long time. In the Middle Ages, it became associated with cypress, and some of the theory is that that's where this cauliflower, as we know it more or less today, originated from Cyprus. And then from there, around about 1490, it became introduced into Italy. I didn't mean to say that the Romans and that, like Pliny, knew about it, but we're talking about this variety that's sort of spread up, sort of named in Italy, and then came through to the rest of Europe. That bit didn't happen to the Middle Ages. So at this point, we're just going to put in those 3 spices. This is going to need a bit of a scrape out because it was frozen when I grated it. And we just want to, actually I did turn that heat down a little bit. I think I've turned it down a bit too much. And we're just going to let that go for about 30 seconds or so, just to start getting that sort of spice out of it. And then you're going to want your spinach. Now, like I say to you, I've de-stalked it and I've rinsed it. Baby spinach, 200 grams. And you're going to want your lentils. Again, if you look at the tin and it talks about it just says tip the whole lot in a saucepan and cook it. But you want to drain these and rinse them, which is what I've done. So, at this point, go on the floor, why don't you? It's only been cleaned this morning, but never mind. Well, this afternoon actually. Oh, go over there. Oh, go on the floor again. You little shit. Yeah, I'll drain it and drain it and drain it. Look how much water now is still in there. And in goes those lentils. So I'm now going to pick up all that stuff off of there, clean that off of there, and then I'll tell you what we do next. Now I've let that spinach drop down a bit, so now, all going on the bloody floor. In goes that cauliflower. Okay, and then what I want to do is take that stock. Like I say, there's 800 mils of, effectively I've used 2 stock pots or 2 stock cubes. It's up to you. In that goes. I might need a little bit more because that's not actually covering that cauliflower. So I'm going to just add a little bit more in there. Make sure the cauliflower is at least submerged a bit. So I did a little bit more hot water. Okay, so now I can at least submerge my cauliflower. It will go down a bit once that spinach wilts a bit. Okay, and then what we're going to do is once it's boiling, we'll turn it down a simmer and put a lid on it. Now I can't for life of me find the lid for this pan, but I've got a lid I'm going to cover it with anyway. And then you're going to cook it for about 10 minutes until the cauliflower at least is starting to get a bit soft. Because remember, we want to blend all this up. So, cauliflower, I said to you like it's like dairy-free, egg-free, nut-free and all that. Cauliflower can be used as a low-calorie, gluten-free alternative to rice or flour. And sometimes instead of mashed potato with all the carbs and starches that are in that, starches are carbs, I know, you can have mashed cauliflower instead of. Oh, and a little trivia, which you've probably heard of, boxers sometimes got told they had cauliflower ears because after all the pounding they got, their ears all sort of got bruised and swollen and ended up looking a bit like a cauliflower. So, like I say, once that's come up to a boil, turn it down to simmer, and then we're going to cover it and leave it for about 10 minutes or so. Okay, I think it sounds like it's just about getting there. And then the only other ingredient you're going to need, like I said, is that lemon juice. Oh, and you might want a bit of salt and pepper. Oh, and I was thinking about it, I'll put it away. We're going to have a little garnish of garam masala. Right, we're almost there now. So I'm just going to turn that down a minute and take that lid off. And just let that finish off. Cauliflower's softish. Okay. So, mathematicians. Quite interesting cauliflowers. When you look at it, it's the fractal, well, I say design, it looks like a fractal design, and mathematicians have calculated that fractal out to 2.1 at 2.8. No idea what that means, I'm not a mathematician. And an interesting property of the fractal property of this is every branch, so the branches here, or module, resembles the entire cauliflower. And the angle between the different modules, as they get further away from the centre of the cauliflower, is basically 360 degrees divided by the golden ratio, whatever that is. There you go. So mathematical facts about that. So at this point, we're going to turn the heat off. And then I'm just going to get that out of the way. Oh, let's chuck that in there. Get that out of the way because we now need to start blending. So a little bit noisy. So we're just going to carry on blending till that's nice and smooth. Right, that's that all blended. So at this point, I'm going to put in that lemon juice, and then we're going to add a bit more pepper, and then I'm just going to give that a little taste and see if I need to add any salt. Okay, it's going to be a bit hot, I think. Right, just add another little pinch of salt. I'm getting the spice through from the chilli, and also a bit of heat from the ginger. It's quite a runny soup, but then again, bear in mind you haven't got any like flour or anything like that to thicken it. So let's serve this up and see what it's like. The next thing is just we want a little pinch of garam masala over the top. I knew it would come out like that if I did that. And now let's try it out. Now obviously it's going to be very hot. It has made 4 servings, like I said, so we've either got extras or, and like I said, if you're on the Weight Watchers thing, you can have another bowl of that without worrying about your points. Equally, you can always let that cool down, put it in the fridge, have it again tomorrow and warm it up. So, I mean, I know I did just taste it, but let's have a go now. We finished. Certainly a nice warming soup. Something for like a cold winter evening. don't think the cauliflower adds any real flavour, because obviously the overpowering flavours in this is the spice, the heat, the garam masala. Now, if you weren't worried about your points, I suppose you could put some Parmesan on top of this, but we're not. But that is a really nice, I wouldn't say hearty, because it's not like chunky or anything like that, but it's a nice warming, spicy soup. But just bear in mind it's got cauliflower in it.